4 minutes in already. So hello and welcome to tonight's next meetup. We'll have Marcin talk about deep dive into prototyping tools, then a QA session, and then depending on how it goes, we may give the Zoom breakout rooms a go again. Yeah, so this is a very special one. It's our 50th meetup, and also we've had it for more than 5 years now, and it's also our third virtual meetup. So welcome very much. Thank you all for joining digitally and online. Your host tonight will be Marcin Szuba, one of like the senior user experience designer at Deconium. Then we've got Edwin Cruz, our one of the hosts, who is UX researcher at Brandwatch Stuttgart, and myself. I'm a director engineering at Brandwatch and head up the Brandwatch Stuttgart office, where hopefully we can meet you in the future again as well. And as such, I'm also going to briefly tell you a bit about Brandwatch before we get into the meaty bits. So we're in the business and the space of digital consumer intelligence. We've got a host of digital products and services. They basically let you find out what billions of consumers think about your products and your competitors, so that you can make the best decisions for your business based on the data that we provide. And yeah, there's various ways to get that data. And we have basically web applications that let you access it. We're about 20 people here in Stuttgart and 550 people worldwide. And yeah, before we dive into tonight's topic and to celebrate our 50th birthday a little bit, we're happy to announce that we have a YouTube channel by now. So that's one of the 2 birthday gifts that Edwin is actually came up for us for this very special meetup. And we're actually uploading the last meetup as we speak onto this channel. So here it looks a bit empty, but soon it will be filled. And talking of uploading in YouTube and all that, there, as a note, we may upload this one as well. So please let us know in the chat if you're unhappy to be on it, or just switch off your video. Basically, names will not appear in the video anyway, that Zoom generates as a kind of technical background. But obviously, if you're asking a question or so, your voice might appear there and or your video. Cool. Then going from the last meetup to the next meetup, we're always interested in having presenters and contributions from the community. So the next one could be your meetup. So please get in touch again, either via the chat here on Zoom or via the meetup page or on Twitter. Those are, I guess, the 3 best channels. And yeah, like since last time, that's still on the horizon. I think that one of the upcoming ones might be about teaching designers how to code, which Edwin, I think, would be quite excited about hosting. Yeah, and talking of Edwin, sorry, my super special guest, my daughter just appeared, but I actually don't want to hand over to my daughter now, but to Edwin, who will talk about 2 other cool things.
Nice.
And then it's over to Marcin. Thank you.
Thanks, Julius. Yeah, it looks like you have some executives, stakeholders there who require you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for the 50th meetup, officially anyways, I just did a quick data analysis and found just a few insights. So it's crazy. This is the 50th time we meet. The first time we ever did that was in January of 2015. And the last time, not including this time, of course, was the 14th of May of this year. So the smallest meetup we've had, as far as RSVPs anyways, was 7 RSVPs, which happened in November 19th. And the biggest one we've had was actually the previous one, where 95 people RSVP'd. Now, notice this is the RSVP, so we don't keep track of actually who shows up. We just try, well, this is all data, by the way, that I grabbed from meetup.com API. So this is publicly available, and I will share the link to this quick little graphic in the comments later. But yeah, the largest one we've had was 95, and the smallest one we had was 7. So I think that's a steady, nice growth rate. And yeah, we look forward to another 50. So yeah, speaking of what we have in store, yeah, we are literally uploading the first meetup video, and it looks like it's going to take a while. So be patient, but and this is going to be this meetup right here. So how to build your insights repository. Took us a little while, but we just had to do some edits and make sure we keep the privacy of our participants and whatnot. So it just took a little bit of time. And the last thing that I wanted to mention was a couple of members from the meetup and I subscribe to, and by the way, we're no way affiliated to them, but we subscribe to this daily UI challenge, which is, for us, to be honest, is more of a weekly UI challenge. But anyways, I wanted to mention that a few of us are doing it. And if you're already doing it or are interested in joining, I think it would be just interesting to have a discussion and then just compare our learnings. And with that, I think I'm going to hand over to Marcin. So yeah, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. I am sharing my presentation as we speak. Yes, this should be the button. So the title of the presentation is the deep dive into the prototyping tools. And since this is like a 15 meetup, I was thinking, okay, I would like to prepare something for this. The presentation will be available online on my portfolio page, as well on the meetup page after the event, and as a recording somewhere in time on a YouTube, on a meetup channel. Quick words about me. My name is Marcin Szuba. I work as a senior UX at Viconium, and you can find my profiles on LinkedIn sync and on my portfolio page. Since the guys are monitoring all the social media movements, you can tweet it using those hashtags. So hashtag UX Meetup, prototyping, and you can mention our event, the brand launch, and me as well. Okay, without further ado, the inspiration for this event was the article which I read about how the Flash will influence the future of prototyping, and this is a very interesting article which I can recommend, and the link is already in a presentation, so you can read it afterward. About the agenda, I would like to talk about the prototyping tools, then now a little bit about the theory. I would like to say, what are the factors, what do you need to consider when you are thinking about choosing a right prototyping tool? And I have a lot of interesting links with tools for the prototyping, and not only. So this would be like the biggest part of the presentation, and some final thoughts. So just at the beginning, I would like to know who are you, or how do you find yourself in a UX world? And I have like a request to you. Can you go to the menti.com and type this code, or use the QR code, so we can see there are 2 questions. One question is, how do you find yourself in a UX world? And the second, what type of yeah. And you can see there are already some answers. Great.
Can you show the code again, please?
You can see it now here.
Okay.
12, 53, 15. Okay, we have like 20 participants. Elf. I will be closing this survey in like maybe 30 seconds. Not sure, but I can, yeah, not sure. So there are no UI designers, project managers, interesting, front-end developers. Great, 14. So this is also a quite interesting tool to gather feedback from the participants while doing some remote sessions or the presentations like this. So you can use it. It's free to up to 2 questions. Okay, I will be closing this vote. And there should be another vote going where another question when I ask you, what do you use to create interactive prototypes? I saw there are at least 2 or 3 front-end developers, and I can see that the HTML and CSS is also popular. Okay. Sketch. I will wait another like 30 seconds. Nobody is using Protopy or Framer, which is quite interesting new tools, which I'm going to show you. If the tool you are using is not listed, you can type it in the chat. We will take a look at this later. Okay, as we can see, Actual 5, but the most popular is Sketch with the plugins, then the Actual and HTML, CSS, and then Figma and Adobe. And InVision Studio, interesting. Okay, I will be integrating those slides in my final presentation afterwards. So thank you for your votes, and I will be closing this one, and I will switch back to the to my presentation. Okay. Well, what about the history? The rise and fall of prototyping tools was always influenced by the technology underlying. As you can see, the first prototyping tools which was used or was like a PowerPoint, which we know is now already, and it was in the multimedia area. Then we got the Flash area with Adobe Animate. We have Flash, used to call that, After Effects. Then we have this Web 2.0 when Axure came to the market, and other interesting big companies and services were launched. And then we have like a mobile area with start of the iPhone. And as you can see, the end of the Flash area is the beginning of the mobile era. Yeah. The Flash creators have to thank Steve Jobs for that. But as you can see, we are now here, and there are some tools we are using now which have a long history of using, like a Photoshop, Axure, which is like a 17 years. I remember starting with Axure, which was when it was version 4 on the market. Now it's 9. Then we have Arduino, Balsamic, and then the big player Sketch, InVision, Principle, and now Figma, Adobe, and Framer. And by the way, this is not a prototyping tool. Yeah. But let's move on. A couple of months ago, there was a survey created on the UX tools.co, where thousands of designers voted about their favorite tool. And these are the results of this survey. So as you can see, the Sketch was pretty much the leader of the market. Then we had the InVision, Figma, Adobe, HTML, CSS. So this might represent also our survey as well. But there's also interesting page, and I wanted to go. This is this uxtools.co, and as you can see, this is a listing. This is the most comprehensive listing of the prototyping tools I have found until yet. So you can filter this depending on which factor would you like to consider. This would be useful later when I will mention about how to choose the prototyping tools. But as you can see, based on the content of the columns, you can see, do you need a Mac solution or like a multi-platform? How much does it cost? Is it free? And what does it can? And what are the sharing options? And there is a little bit more, does it have access to the sensors, voice interfaces, analytics, and heat maps, for example. Good. All the links will be included later on, so you don't have to go now. A few words about the prototyping. What the prototyping actually is. Well, it takes a lot of effort, time, money to create a product. You can imagine how much money and credibility a company can lose if they launch the product which is not going to succeed. The prototyping is the way to present the ideas and to validate the ideas, to experiment and to fail. And if we are going to fail, it is better when we are fail with the prototype than with the final product. In contrary to wireframing, and this is something I would like to clear what is wireframing. Wireframing is about demonstrating the structure, the layout, visual hierarchy, and the layout of the information which are going to include it. And prototyping is more about simulating interaction, testing functionality, validating ideas, and experimenting. The question, why do we prototype? Those are actually the same reasons. We want to test designs before we create the real project. We want to gather feedback from our stakeholders, from colleagues, clients. We want to validate some hypotheses as soon as possible. We want to show something, some specific user journey. We want to show something maybe complex, not only just screen-to-screen interaction. And we would like to iterate to be even more better and to sure. And there's always this, aha, I know what you mean moment. So this is during if you go to the big meeting with the stakeholder and you show, and there are always people who has different perspective about the final product. And if you show them the prototype, you can bring them all to the same page. Good, and in effect, you can save time and money. And I found an interesting quote, which was posted on Instagram just like 9 hours ago. And you can see this is a journalist who followed Apple closely, Leander Kelly. And this is a quote of him that it's not about 5, 6 prototypes, and you don't come up and you don't wake up and have a brilliant idea. You have an idea which have to be iterated. You have to test it. Is it going to work? So don't think about 5 or 6 prototypes, to the hundreds of them. Of course, if you are having resources. It's about prototyping is always about testing and iterating new ideas. There are also different levels of prototyping. We can start with the sketching prototypings, then we can go to the wireframes, then the 50 shades of wireframes, then to the mockups, which there will be color, and another fidelity is a prototype, an interactive click dummy. Yes, and this is also very interesting quote I like to mention, and I had it also printed in and it was hanged in my office. Actually, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a prototype is worth yeah, 1,000 meetings. This is come from Tom and David Kelly from IDEO. This is about this theory part. There are paper prototyping, which allows you to prototype a digital product interface without using digital software. It's fast. There are many pros for this solution. I will also show you the way how you can transform the sketches into digital world and then go even one step further. So after paper prototyping, another level of fidelity is like a simple wireframe, low fidelity, no colors. We would like to know what are the elements, how does the navigation menu looks like, what are we going to include, and then we create a high fidelity mockup. I must say I prototyped for like 10 years now, and I have some wishes, some requirements from the prototyping tool, and this is like my wish list. You may think that this is maybe too much, maybe this is too little, maybe you have maybe it's aligned with your ideas, but what I would like to have is like an integrated UI kit, so like Google Material Design, stencils, widgets, you name it. This is something I would like to have in order not to start over the whole work. I would like to have collaboration features to get the feedback and share my work. And if I'm talking about the sharing work, it's not only with the clients, but also with my colleagues who don't use the tools, so they don't have to install a mobile app in order to see the wireframes or the prototypes. It should run in browser, of course. Yes, it should be password protected. This is another factor important, so you need to be aware of the security, and in perfect situation if you have control over the data. So yeah, maybe it's a cloud solution, but maybe it's a cloud solution where you can host something on your servers. There are like on-premise solutions for example from Azure. I would like to see a flexible pricing model, because depending where you work, who you are you working for the big company like Daimler, Porsche, Bosch, you have different needs and different context of use from the tools, and projects which may last for 2-3 years. And there are agencies or freelancers who are only engaged for like from 2 weeks to 3 months. So I would like to pay as you go. So maybe like a prepaid model would be also interesting. I always wanted to have embedded animations, transitions, so I could just switch the data and use them, because, for example, Azure does a really good job, but there are weaknesses in, for example, the animations. But what is, for example, good in Azure, there are like advanced features, scroll-based events. If I scroll with the mouse, it would trigger some event like a slide of the element, or use the variables. So I can create a global variables and say, if I put the input input field text my name, it will be repeated later on other screens. And for all, this is something I really ask, hey, I would like to see how this wireframe looks in the browser, because what I see is always the previews which are on the canvas in Sketch, in Figma, but I don't have this feel how it may look in as an end product. And I have more. For example, how I could create responsive web design screens. How can I set the viewports to scale the designs? How easy it is to update the screens? How can I track the changes? How can I support the iterations in my ClickDummy, something which, for example, Abstract does with connection with Sketch? How can I measure, for example, entries? How can I include the analytics into the click dummies? Yes, how can I support the iterations of the product? I would like to also work with the real content, because I don't think the lorem ipsum is now the really good solution. It never was, maybe in the beginnings, but since there are like JSON APIs which you can use from like Airtable, or you can use the data from the Google Sheet in order to display on the page, why not? And another big thing, prototypes shouldn't be the dead end of the process. You should be able to export the components to the development. And this is something I would like also see. And yes, there are some tools I will show. Also, I would like to see how can I integrate the prototype screens or the click dummy into tools like Trello, Jira, Confluence. So I would have like a single source of truth. Okay, there is a ticket, there are screens, the interaction is shown here. And of course, there are cloud solutions, but I prefer to use the standalone application to create the wireframes, because I always have this feeling, okay, this is the browser, it may crash, I'm not sure. Yes. Now, I would like to tell about how to choose the prototyping tools. There are some, yes, factors which you need to consider while choosing a prototyping tool. One, for all, the most important, you need to define the goal of the prototype. You need to think, what would you like to achieve? Are you going to sell an idea? Are you going to test your prototype with users? Are you creating a proof of concept, or are you doing something like a test logic? They all have some requirements. For example, okay, the high fidelity, complete click dummy, it would be good for the user testing. Another factor is how this tool supports this fidelity level. So from this from paper prototyping into the low fidelity wireframe and to the high fidelity. You need to ask yourself some questions. Are you planning to use wireframes or visual mockups as a starting point? Do the screens still need to be designed? Is the same person responsible for designing and prototyping? Will your team need to hand off the prototyping to another team at some point? And what are the expectations, look and feel of the final prototype? Then there is, of course, the target audience. You need to think, okay, who's my target audience of this prototype? Am I going to just send the link and someone will open it and it will be so intuitive that this person will use this prototype on a very big important meeting? Is it for example, on what medium does the prototype need to be visualized? Is it on a desktop page, or is it a mobile product, which it would be better if you show on the device and not on the big screen because of this look and feel? How are you going to walk through the prototype? And another important is the adaptability into the workflow. How good does this tool with support your workflow? Prototyping is a part of the process. You work with different people, requirement engineers, project managers, UI designers, front-end developers, sometimes maybe with back-end developers, with the clients. Everyone has its own perspective, needs, and expectations. It is important that you sit with the team and talk about those requirements and expectations. What are also important things? You need to think about the timeline, the budget. about the skill set of the people who are going to build it, about the technical compatibility, and yes, how are you going to show it? Good. Then another connected is the tool knowledge. If you used, for example, Photoshop, then and someone tell you, hey, Marcin, you are going to you have to use the Exure now. How are you going to approach this this problem? Because you haven't used the Exure before, and now you have to do it. So the question is, who is going to create the prototype? What is this person's skills? How fast this person can work? And maybe there is a favorite tool of this person which would like to use. Also, how many designers are collaborating on this prototype? This is very important if you have a big project and several designers working on the same project, but in the different areas, and how do you synchronize your results of the work? Then there is a collaboration in sense of how are you going to gather the feedback from the stakeholders? Do you have any platform where you can show the HTML prototype, and then are there any tools then, where the clients could just simply say, okay, I like the color of the button, it's my go, yes, go for it, or I don't like this background. 1 year ago I did a project with the Figma, and this was also a very interesting experience for me, because we asked the clients, hey, would you like to try something interesting, interesting tool which would speed up our workflow in the in sense of getting the text for the page, because we were not the Fachpersonen, so the people who knows the stuff for the target group, and we needed some specific wording and text, and we used the Figma, and we used this comment feature. So we had like the wireframe, and the client put just a sticker with the comment, okay, here is the text, and this speed up our process significantly. Good. And of course, there are license costs. You may think, and you can see, okay, Exure, $500. It's a little bit expensive, but when you think about, for example, Sketch and Abstract and Principle, then you have like already over like $300 at least year. I guess it's a year, because so the cost is very important factors when you think about what are you going to buy. And as I mentioned before, there are different perspectives, there are different roles. The freelancer has to be more versatile and has to use more devices, more prototyping tools or wireframing tools than people who work for one company and use the Sketch, Abstract, and InVision, for example. Then there is a handoff phase of the project, and you need to think what is going to happen after you are done with the prototyping and everything went great. Is it going to be a dead end? What are you going to give to the developers? This is also important thing. What are the deliverables of the project? And of course, there are some legal organization limitations, and this is something I stumbled here upon many times. For example, the big companies are not allowed or are very cautious and careful when someone says, okay, we have like InVision, or we have like Figma, which is a cloud-based tool. The servers are based in, I guess, New Zealand or in the Netherlands. And yeah, this is how it works. And they said, no, we don't like that. In Germany, most companies, well, they have to have control over their data, and they are very skeptical when it comes to the cloud solutions. But of course, it depends on the type of the project. If you are a freelancer, if you are a small agency, or if you are a startup, you can do it on your own and select a tool which suits your needs. Exactly. And there is, I found this is very interesting also as a tool, a Miro board, but it's not for the prototyping. Yeah, you can do with prototypes and wireframes as well. But what I wanted to say, there is a colleague who lives in London. The name just get out of my head, but he created like a Miro board where he also put some criteria. I can show it to you actually. I guess it's here. Can you see this? Okay. Okay, so, and you can see I'm a guest here, but I can see how he ordered some tools in using like 6 dimensions, like for example, what is the price? Yes, so as you can see, Axure is on the right because the price is high. InVision or Origami Studio are pretty low. Yes, no price. What are the ease of use factor, time to master, and the future relevance. So for example, for the handoff, what tools might be very interesting. The link to the board will also be displayed. Okay. I just need to drink something, sorry. Okay. So, oh, yes. And I have a tool showcase and I can switch here in the browser. Framer is a very interesting tool with the main focus on the prototyping and for the collaboration with the teams. They have like features for they have already done libraries for the animations and yeah, pretty much I like it. You can use, for example, you can create wireframes in Adobe Sketch or Figma and then transform them into the Framer with a plugin and continue to prototype in this tool. So it's only the web. There is also Framer X. I guess there is a paid license for the Framer X, but I'm not sure. But I guess this is well, this is sufficient if you have like a small projects with up to 2 designers. There are also included UI kits, so you can speed up your work. You can create or use already templates for the animations. And yeah, I like it. There are also very interesting for the beginners, the tutorials which you can use. So it's really easy to handle this. And if you have experience with the prototyping tools, the time to master is not so long. Another tool, interesting, is the Lightwell. Lightwell was bought by Twitter. Now it's free, and the only minus is its Mac application, but you can also create rich interactions and interface for the iOS, which can be used later by the developer. So there are like features. I'm not going to put the videos because this will slow down, but basically it works like this, that you can import the wireframes from your favorite wireframing tool into this tool, and it will create code which could be used for the for creating a native app, for example. But this is not there's more. Another and this is in my opinion hidden champion. It's called UX Pin, and I would describe it like an Azure, but in the cloud. It's a cloud solution, but it has also a standalone app for Mac and for Windows. You can create the wireframes, you can create animations. It has embedded design system templates which you can adjust. And yes, interactive stateful elements. So something we know from, for example, from Azure. And there are like a code components, variables, and the interface is pretty much very similar to the Sketch, Figma, or Adobe. The list of features is quite important. There is the HTML import. So basically, if you create the prototype in UX tool, and this is like a static website without CMS connection, you can publish it actually on your server. So this is also quite interesting tool. Yes, then we have something like here, and it's a prototype. Nobody is set using this. I didn't use this, but I spoke with some people and most of the people who use this are students. Then I thought, why? Then I scrolled a little bit and found something that it's free for the academic purpose. So if you are a student, you can apply through the special program at Prototype, and you will get a normal license. Usually the license costs like monthly $11, I would say. The focus of the Prototype is on the prototyping and creating animations, and as you can see, micro interactions. And it has a Lottie integration. This is like an animation library from Airbnb. Yes, and the future is now. You can also connect IoT devices, as you can see. I didn't test it, but it sounds very, very interesting and like a future prototyping tools. And I guess for 1 month, you can start a free trial. Yes, then we are Webflow. Webflow, maybe you know, maybe you heard about the Webflow. This is like an online editor where you can publish the pages, websites in one tool. It has integrated content management systems, templates. There is a big community with resources where you can, there is a showcase where you can, and with templates which you can reuse in your projects. There are scalable data plans, project plans, and it's very interesting if you are thinking about end-to-end solutions. So starting from creating simple wireframes, then and moving to the step level with the prototypes and creating a website in the code. What I would like to say, the one thing, you have to have the basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, a little bit JavaScript if you need more interaction, and also about the flex model, because you have to create some components, containers with divs. So this is something you would have to handle. Another interesting tool which I discovered recently is a UI bakery. And it has a similar approach as a Webflow, but with the focus on the web applications. So you can create a front-end web applications with like a drag and drop interfaces. So yeah, they say that it's like a Webflow, but for the web app developments. So as you can see, you have all the stencils, so all the elements, they are already code, and the question is, how are you going to use it? How are you going to visualize your idea? You can connect to the API integration, and this is something I am going to test. Another interesting, and I must honestly say, there is like no codery or no code movement, so to say, which the main idea is to create a website without writing a single line of code. I can also link a page with a set of tools which are included in this movement, so to say. A bubble, yeah, it's also like a drag and drop editor, which makes the whole process a little bit easier. As you can see here, you can create the whole user interface and then publish it. You can create also some integrations from the YouTube maps. They have also scalable model licensing model. So it's also food for thought if you are going to use a prototype in cloud. Then there is a supernova. There is also a prototyping tools of the future, which able to create you to with the focus of the mobile app. So as you can see, you have like an editor where you can put the components, and you have like a code which you can use later for the real development. Okay, then there is something similar called Teleport, and it's also a front-end development platform where you can use drag and drop elements in order to create the interface. I will skip this and go to the Brava Studio. Brava Studio is something actually which I had the chance to test and build like free native apps, yes. And it works like this, that you create a design in Figma. There are guidelines. How do you need to mark the elements in Figma with the components, which will be later used. Maybe there is something like, yes, okay, exactly. So you build your design in Figma. For example, now you add some tags, then you can, you need to download the Brava Vision app for the previews, and then you can connect the Airtable or any other REST API data to this design. So it works with these containers, and it looks connections with the API, and then you can download or go with the publish at App Store and Google Play. Basically, you need 3 ingredients: Figma, Brava Studio, and Airtable. But I also found the people are using also Google Sheets with one single small hack to integrate the data into the app. And I was really it was really great experience, because I always was, okay, I have idea for the mobile app, but I don't have skills to build it. How am I going to do this? Yes. And then I stumbled upon about this, and hey, this is like something, now I have ideas, and I will do X apps just for myself. Yeah. Yeah. So this is something I strongly recommend. If you are if you would like to create a mobile app without a single line of code, and basically what you need is knowledge of the Figma and a little bit knowledge of this Brava Studio and Airtable. Another visual editor prototyping tool I would like to mention is the Modules app. It's now in beta, but I wanted to mention because you can in the future you can import designs from your favorite tool and use this like a middleman in order to generate code for different platforms. And at the moment, they are facing, I guess, targeting the teams. And for example, you can create a visual design system on the fly. So this is like a goodbye handoff, hello style guide. This is something I really like to see in for example in Sketch. Another interesting tool, maybe this is like a prototyping, but I wanted to include it, is I think this is like one of the prototyping tools of the future, but for the forms. If you ever used the Typeform, maybe you like it. I loved it because this idea of the freedom, how can I create and without code, how can I create a form without code, which looks like this with add images, where you can, for example, have one question at a time. So your focus is on the question, and you don't have like a classical form. And it's also free, at least for one project, up to 10 questions. So you can also test it. Okay, now this is like a little bit down to earth. Well, tool. It's integrated with the Sketch and Adobe XD. And recently I saw there is a plugin also for the Figma. Anima originally was connected with the Sketch and allowed to create some simple animations. Now they went one step further, and they are creating high fidelity HTML prototypes. So basically, if you have the Sketch, you can download this. This is like a plugin, and you can create not only the animations, but now you can also create a high fidelity prototypes with your favorite prototyping tool. Speaking of augmented reality, and this is something I mentioned on my trends presentations like 2 years ago, I guess. So you can see, and this is a wireframe. So you can create augmented reality objects in the app. And as you can see, it's multi-platform. So as you can see, I try to go also beyond the screen and present also the tools which I wouldn't use, but I think they are interesting. So that's why deep dive. Another interesting tool for creating augmented reality apps is a Torch, and it's similar to the AR, and you can create some, for example, presentations for the projects in retail, in store. Good. Then I wanted to jump to the voice interfaces. Yes, I know there is Adobe XD with this feature how you can create the voice interfaces, but in my opinion, it's not good because you cannot use it later. And this is the factor which I mentioned before about this handoff. The prototype shouldn't be a dead end. It should be used later. And this is a VoiceFlow platform where you can design and prototype a voice apps for Alexa, for Google Assistant, and you need to code. I would say this is like an Xure, but for the voice prototypes. And I guess it's also free. You could also use you can also import the devices. For example, if you want to present your work on the Alexa Echo with the screen. So it's also possible. Another tool for the voice conversation is a Fable. From the user interface, it's a little bit easier because it's like writing a dialogues. Yes, so this could be used, for example, on your design sprint projects where you have design sprint, and one of the day is the prototyping, and the team came up with idea. Yeah, we are going to build a voice skill for Alexa. Yes, and you think, okay, what I'm going to do now? Adobe because I know, or maybe I should use dedicated software service for the voice conversations. And as you can see, it also supports conversation UI interfaces, so you can use it also in, for example, for the Facebook Club, I guess for the Facebook Messenger and for the WhatsApp. If not, I am going to show you also because yes, no tech skill needed. I used the voice flow and Fable redesigned for like 1 week ago. The name was a little bit different, and it supports like 29 languages, 160 voices, works on the smartphones and tablets. So this would be your next voice prototyping tool. But there are also the Bot Society is also a voice prototyping, and they you can either create the so it looks like this. You can create the paths, you can create the variables, some conditions, what is going to set, if what bot says, user says. So this is like also creating a conversation. Another is a flow AI, and it's similar, but with the focus on the writing. So you can create like chatbots with the flow AI. This is something I haven't tested, but it looks more like, yeah, there is a drag and drop interface. There are some variables. You can create the intents, the flows. So it supports the methodology of creating the voice interfaces. Whimsical. Whimsical is, I would describe it like a lean UX tool, which you could use, for example, in the first phases of the projects when you have to create the flow charts, simple, low fidelity wireframes. Maybe you have some workshop with the sticky notes, mind map, and this is like a one tool which does this all. It's, I guess maybe there is a demo. Yes, there is a demo, so it's very simple. There are already some templates which you can use, so you can build really complex things and export them after, I guess, to image of, yeah. Cool. Then, this is something interesting. If you are industrial designer, you are building things like some parts, some physical things. This might be interesting. And this is like a Shaper 3D for an iPad. You can buy it. And the feature is that you can create some prototypes on the device, on the iPad. And you can see this is like a precision with the stylus where you can create physical. It's like a, I guess maybe you can say it's the AutoCAD, but on the touch devices. So we are getting beyond the screen. Now we are going to more, yes, Studio. Studio is, it's like a Webflow, but I would say even easier. You have like a standard modules, and it's like a Lego bricks. You are building very visual. You have a visual editor where you can gather your team and create the content. You may say it's like a Google Docs with these collaboration features when you can see what the other colleagues are doing, and you can build the user interface from the blocks. Yes, then we have Fishly. I guess I showed this. This is something also where you can build the components or use the components which are already used, which can be used for the code, and you can create the what is this? Yes, here. For example, you have this UI interface of the input field, and you can create a code of it, which you can be later reused. And as you can see, there is a pattern in these modern tools, because you can start with your favorite wireframing tools, Figma, Adobe, Sketch, you name it. Well, those three are supported. And then you can export this to this middleman, which generates the code for the GitHub, for Angular, Vue, or yeah, I guess, and for the other programming frameworks and languages. Then, have you ever wondering if you could design something on your screen, on your mobile screen? Well, there is a tool now, it's a beta invite, but this tool allows you to create the wireframes, so to say, or the prototypes on the device. I'm not sure how does it work. I'm quite skeptical, but I wanted to show there is a tool which supports something like this. And you can, I guess, request of the beta for the to see if you will able to get the invitation. Good. Then this is maybe not the tool for the prototyping, but this is something which would support the collaboration. So basically, it works. This gem works. You have like a video window in your tool. So for example, now here we are using Figma, and you can see the people who are collaborating with you on this screen and discussing some business. Yes, so it's for the products and design, supports Figma. Also for, I guess, Sublime or no, something like this, for engineering, or for some high-level concept and workshops. So basically, this is like an interesting plugin for different aspects of creating a product, where you can have this small window with a colleague of yours. So prototyping has a face now, you can say. And this is something similar, but maybe a little bit simpler. It calls Markup.io, and it allows you to create like a frame. And in this frame, you can put, for example, your prototype, your static wireframe, and someone can leave the feedback, the comment there. For example, yes, please change the background. So this is something which is already in Figma, but there are tools which doesn't have this function, and this is also maybe interesting if you are not using Figma and would like to get the feedback. Because in my experience, if you got the feedback in like a PowerPoint or in PDF, where sometimes you cannot discuss the feedback because someone didn't understand the concept or something, this would solve the problem. Yes. So, and basically it works like you can put the URL, and it will generate a frame which you can use for the commenting. The last but not the least is the UI Zart, and the UI Zart is currently in beta, but I have access, and it works like this, that it supports the whole journey from the prototyping. So basically you can start with a sketch with the paper prototyping. Then you can import into this tool. As you can see, you can take a photo, import to the tool, and the system, or this artificial intelligence which is behind it, will recognize, hey, this is like a element which is a headline, this is like a button, this is a text, this is an input field. There are also some sketching guidelines, how you should sketch in order to get the best recognition of the element. And then you can go with the prototyping and handoff. And I have access to this, but I didn't did much. There is, you can create a collaboration. There are themes you can use, and you can edit. So like design style guides, because this is not a design system, it's too much to set, but you can have the basic elements of the style UI with the colors, with the typography, buttons, images, containers, form elements, icons, and this is basically all you need to create a simple interface. Then maybe I will, this is not this. And there is an example. No, I'm not going to upload. Let's go to my organization. No. So we have like a demo, Pied Piper. And as you can see, this was a sketch, like a paper prototyping, which was converted into the user interface with the labels, with the avatars, with the checkbox, with some simple navigation menu. And from here you can continue. If you have more than one screen, you can connect them and create the flows. After then, you can also gather the feedback, which is something must-have of the modern prototyping and wireframing tools. And you can export it to them codes as a code assets. It supports the HTML, React, Vue, Angular, and also the CSS in less Sass stylus. And you can see the code if you have it. And of course, there are some sharing options. Yes, so I just need to get back to the presentation, and then we will get back with the question. I need to skip this everything because I wanted to show you the full websites of it. And then we will, so as you can see, the times where we had only Axure or Sketch only are away, and you can think about some other interesting tools or use the tools which are created, for example, for the voice interfaces or for the conversation interfaces. Yes, the final thoughts, and this is something I found, and I was, this is something also interesting. This is like someone posted this as a workflow, and there are tools. This is for research. If you are a researcher, I guess one of them, I guess this is this author, which can translate the voice recordings into the text, and then you can look for some keywords. So this is basically for the research phase. Then for the startup, for the first phases of the project, you can use the Miro or the Murali. I guess I said it. Which, yes, this is like this is Murali. So this is basically like a one big board. It's cloud solution, but you can create some mind maps. We use this in my company for remote, for the sprint summaries and for reviews, for example. So this is very interesting if you allowed to use the cloud solutions, and you can use it with your colleagues. You can create, this is like a Figma, but more because it's not only the wireframes and prototypes, but also some, for example, design sprints. You can use this for the design sprint. There are also some templates which you can use. And what I wanted to say, yes, but for the iteration, you can use the favorite tool of your choice. It can be Figma, it can be Sketch with Abstract. And why I really like Figma is that Figma has the similar features which with Sketch and Abstract in one tool. Yes, so basically you can create a project using only Figma. Then you have the if you are using, you have to do some prototypes and consider Protopie, which is good with the animations, micro interactions, or UXPin, which is more like a Axure in the cloud, or the Framer, which I showed you. Then for the test, you can create the lookback, which is for the mobile devices, I guess, for the screen recording. and this is Maze Club, a Maze. Recently, I saw you can import the screens from the Figma into the Maze and gather the feedback from the remote users and implement. And I guess, yeah, modules I mentioned before, but there are like 2 more. So this is like just only one of the possible paths you can see, but those are some tools worth to mention when you're thinking about the couple next years. And I had some predictions about the tools, and this would be my final thoughts here, that the closed systems, they won't work. So something like Axure without connection to other apps, it won't work. I know it's very strong, it's very good. I love Axure. I rest with Axure, but now when I saw Figma, when I saw, for example, Adobe XD or those voice prototyping tools or this framer, I was on, I need to learn those as well. The wireframing tools will evolve, and for example, my thought is that, for example, Sketch will create a feature which is now provided by one of their plugins, where plugin won't be needed anymore. So this is also one of the thought. And think about, this is not about the tools, but about the journey. This is about the things I said before, how to choose the prototyping tool. Maybe you have Figma, which serves your needs and you don't need extra tool. And as you said, you can run the whole project in using Figma, and that's it. And another thing is that prototyping should never be a dead end, and you need to think about the handoff. So I showed some tools like like this one, the Slidewell, when you can export the code to the development environments. So it cannot be the dead end. And the cloud solutions will evolve, but I think they also need the standalone native app, because of this feeling of using an app and not something in browser. Yes, I use, for example, Figma, but only as a standalone app. Yes, and I guess this would be all. I have also collected some links to follow. So, for example, the colleague who created this Miro board runs a blog and a YouTube channel where he sometimes creates challenges for the community, for the followers. For example, hey, the challenge for this week is to create a filter in Axure. And in 1 week, we are going to, yes, please send it to me, and then I will show it the top 3 solutions which I found the best. Yes, there is a prototype. This is actually the page which also collects the tools, but also gathers the news about the prototyping tools and the plugins. So, for example, what happened today? We can see there are some promoted stuff here. But Spectrum for the Adobe XD design language, quite interesting. How Salesforce accelerates design productivity. So here you will find not only the tools, the toolbox, but also articles about the tools and stories and people who are using. And then we have, this is also interesting. I discovered this two days ago, a prototyping news, and this is run by a colleague who comes from Stuttgart, actually, and created, I don't know if the name is here, somewhere here, but this is also quite interesting newsletter when he have some, he writes some thoughts about the tools, discovers some links to other articles, and presents 2 or 3 tools. So it's, I guess, like every 2 or 3 weeks. And yeah, I can there's also some other interesting articles, which if you would like to read it. All the links also to these tools are already in the presentations, and I will post it, I guess, in like 2 hours, because I also want to include this survey results which we done in the beginning. Okay, so let's see if we have some questions. Do you see the questions?
Yes, do you want me to read them out to you?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the first one is from Laura saying, regarding ProtoPie, we tried it and wanted to get it, but the legal department said no, due to small license conditions. So this is actually a comment rather than a question.
Okay.
Or I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but otherwise I'll.
This is the thing I mentioned when I talk about the how to choose them. This is one of the obstacles, and this in Germany, I guess this is one of the biggest obstacles, because if you work for Daimler or Bosch or Porsche, you have some agreements which are very specified what you can use and what you cannot use. And if you can use some, for example, Axure, it has to be the wireframes or the files has to be hosted on your own secured server, for example. Yes.
Yeah.
So all this solution Axure on premise.
Yeah.
But this is a big obstacle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next one is also from Laura.
Mm.
We are trying to find a tool which is as detailed as Axure, but simple as, for example, ProtoPie. Right now we're using Sketch and Envision combined, and for user testing Axure. As it right now is quite a lot of extra work. This is especially because the import from Sketch to Axure is not so nice. Maybe you have some tips to make this more smooth.
Right now, the question is because you mentioned with the ProtoPie there was like several license conditions, but can you write down if this was connected with that's a cloud solution? Was it the main
I'll
problem?
just like say it, maybe it's easier.
Yeah.
No, it was not because of cloud. It was because they basically showed us like, I don't know, 4 paragraphs or something regarding that they would own everything afterwards if we go with it.
Really?
So why they said no. I did not read all of them. It was like, I don't know how many lines. So that's why they said it. And that's why we tried it and we said, okay, we want to have it. And then we were like,
Well, then maybe you should try to consider that this UX pin. This is something I showed here. Yes. In my opinion, I tested this, but you have to think about the licensing. Where is the pricing? And think about if it suits your needs. Because what I don't like, it's based on the features. Okay, here you have unlimited previews. There is a free account, you can test it, but it's limited to the features. So for example, this advanced security is only available in the professional plan, yes? Or for example, conditional logic. This is something which you know from Axure or variables. This is also in other plan. So basically plan is not on the number of projects you can be hosted, but on the features. So this is something I don't think is, but try it. Think it, I guess you can also try the full feature set from the UX pin or write them and think if you are able to use it. And you can see this is something which could replace Figma, Sketch, Envision. So maybe, and you are using Sketch and Envision and user testing Axure. I'm not sure what how can create or how can you integrate usability testing, but just write them. Maybe they have already some solutions. Yes.
okay.
So my recommendation: try this UX pin, because I think this is like an Axure, but in the cloud. and it has more, and it's easier, a little bit easier as actual. Okay, are there any other questions? Have used, this is like a remark. Also recommended type form, yes, I see the fence of the type form. The voice flow, yes, this is voice flow. As I said, this is like it's also actual if you are looking something for the simple prototyping, quick rapid prototyping for the voice interfaces, then maybe this new thing which is called Fable. This might be a solution for you. Also, I cannot answer about the markup IO. I'm not sure if it's just tested. I guess you can test it free, at least for one account. And then which time do you think takes the least time to start with prototyping? The fastest when you need to. I guess this framer looks very promising. It takes the least time. If it comes to this time to learn or this learning curve, I would say where is it? The framer is really easy. I can open it. I don't have any projects or something like this, but they have very nice tutorials, and also they have files which you can reuse, some patterns.
Yeah, what I meant also was like, you know, when I first start trying Framer, Figma, importing assets from Sketch was like just clicking one button and they were all there. And when you look for a tool for prototyping in high fidelity, for example, let's say Framer or Azure, I also had the experience with Azure that it takes a long time to import the stuff, so you can really get started.
Well, as you can see there, I opened, this is like a administration panel of this, and you can import from a desktop from Framer X for Figma on Sketch, but I don't know how its performance and the quality, because I haven't imported here any of the stuff. I just went through the tutorials, which are really great and easy to use, so you can learn those tools very quickly. Okay, I hope I answer your questions. Yeah, you mean this fastest? Yeah, well, it's about performance. You would have to test it. Just test it and take a look how it works. Okay, are there any more questions?
Feel free to just unmute and ask your questions. Of course.
Well, then maybe I will ask a different question, Laura again. We also have like the idea of micro interactions. And we tried Framer for that, but it did not really work. So we ended up somehow with Principle, but I somehow have the feeling that we won't get a tool which can do everything, like to put everything together, user testing, prototyping, and micro interaction.
There is no simple question to that, but I have something like an idea about that, about the Figma. And there are plugins in Figma. There are plugins also for animations, for simple animations, but also for the advanced animations with the timeline, where you can control the behavior of each element there. And this is basically something which you can use for the testing. And also they have this maze. This is like a maze. I would have to Figma maze integration. Yeah, the design that works. This is something for the remote usability testing. and you can create the Figma prototypes into this tool. So maybe you should try this. But as I said, you can you asked this question about the sketch, InVision, and user testing Axure. You said and Protopy. Yes, I can see. Look at the UX pin and what they have to offer. Go through the features, and I guess the micro interactions you can do this as well. There is animation feature there 100%, but I'm not sure how it's developed. And I used UX pin, but at some point I was a little bit nervous because I have they made some major changes in the licensing. Yeah, and I had like an account with many features, with this conditional loading, with variables, and then I loaded, I logged into the UX pin after like a month, and I saw, hey, where are my features? I cannot create the variable, I cannot create the state or some conditional. And this was the time when they changed this whole pricing and model based on the features, and you can say I was the victim of this. So I said, oh no, I'm not going to use it, because those were the features I wanted to use. But try it. Maybe there is something which you can create the micro interactions. Maybe we can also. There is also a big community about the UX pin. I guess it's Spectrum. Is this something like where you can, and they publish a lot. They hired some authors from the Silicon Valley to write the articles, ebooks. They did some virtual summits, remote workshops about their tool, but I'm not sure if this is there, and those are pretty much the old entries. So just you can create interactive states, and there is a very good tutorial in UX pin where everything is very good explained, and they reacted very fast for any inquiries if you have, because after I had this situation with the UX pin, I contacted them. I said, hey, what's going on? And they said, yeah, sorry, we changed our pricing model. Yeah. Okay. Flinto. Yeah, Flinto. I know Flinto because we did a project with this, and the problem was with the client presentation. The client decided, hey, I would like to have everything in to run in the browser. Yes, and in order to see the end effect of your Flinto prototype, and it was like 1 year ago, maybe it's changed, you had to install a native app on the iPad or on the iPhone in order to see the interaction. So this was like no go for our client, and we decided we are not going to use the Flinto, and we built it this interaction which was in Flinto in Axure, and it was like 90% of the quality. Alex, what did you mean? Or to give your device to the client? Yes. Oh, okay. You mean this installing an app problem? Yes, but you give the this app, and the question is this person know how to use it? You know, because this was also a problem at that point, because they wanted to have something. Okay, I want to open this in the browser. Click here, click here, click here, and then I will show this on some kind of a stakeholder meeting. And this is also the aspect which I mentioned before while choosing the tool, this target group. How who is it, and how is this person going to use? Sometimes you need to write instruction, yes, how to use your prototype. And this is not the case that you write some instructions. It has to be intuitive und clear. Okay. Are there any?
Just to say, I started a timer at the beginning of the questions. And we've done 15 minutes.
Okay.
If there's a final question from somebody, now's the time. And otherwise, how many people are we? We're 15 people. I guess, yeah, like, I think there's no more questions. Timer has gone. Lots of thank yous. I want to say a big thank you to you as well, Marcin, on behalf of the UX Meetup crew. I think this was a fantastic presentation, and it's definitely expanded my horizon a lot regarding the prototyping space, and I'm sure others as well. It's kind of interesting how that's exploded.
If you have any other further questions, you can add me on the Xing or the LinkedIn, and we can continue the conversation. So I'm open for invitations and further discussions if you have any other things. Thank you. Yeah.
Very cool.